All right, we just concluded our first digital Cable Next Gen Technologies and Strategies conference after doing it live and in person for the last 12 years. We made some light reading history, and we had a lot of good discussions and information. So I'm here with my colleague, Jeff Baumgartner. I'm Alan Breznick, and we're going to talk about some of the takeaways from the conference. So Jeff, you just finished moderating two panels, fiber panel and streaming video. What are some of the things you found out about both of those markets?
Yeah, I think on the the fiber side, for when it comes to the cable operators, there hasn't been like huge change kind of on what's been driving all of it. They're still doing fiber to the prem and greenfields and the businesses and kind of more targeted situations. It seems like Altice USA and what they're doing in the optimum footprint is still the exception to the rule. And the other thing we did talk a little bit about, and Guy McCormick at Cox touched on it first, and that is a little bit of an update on RFOG. We were writing about RF over glass years and years ago, and it's kind of stuck around, but it's like Guy said, it's kind of like in the rearview mirror now, because all the cable operators that have done that are kind of flipping over to PON. Now IP video capabilities that they didn't have years ago. So kind of care and feeding, but also kind of moving away from that. So that's been a long time coming.
Yeah. It sounded like he buried RFOG. It's like RIP for RFOG there.
Yeah. I mean, it's still out there, but they're kind of steering away from it. And on the video side, it's there's still a good mix in terms of what the operators are going to do. They're still going to migrate over to a next gen platform or provide kind of an over the top option, and it's still a very small number that have kind of are completely getting out of it. And exiting pay TV altogether. That's kind of like with Altice is doing with FTTP. The exception to the rule is kind of getting completely out of it and ignoring it.
Okay, cool. Well, we had a really interesting discussion on the GAP panel just now about generic access platform, because we had John Williams from Charter, and he was pretty much holding the two vendors to task, put them a little bit on the hot seat, because they were talking about getting GAP nodes out by spring 2022, and he was saying, "Oh, I want to see them sooner than that." So that led to some good discussion about that.
That may be what you want to do, but this is what I want.
This is what I want. So yeah.
So expect everybody to accelerate a little bit, or kind of adjust their program management there. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And the DOCSIS panel yesterday I thought was pretty interesting too, where people were talking about how soon they'll start seeing passives and other equipment being rolled out even before they start actually rolling out the spec, that they're going to prepare the plan for it.
Yeah, it seems like there's a little more network preparation. Not that 3.0, 3.1, and every previous version of DOCSIS didn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like you are kind of there is a bigger change, to the network and to the architecture for 4.0 than we've seen in any of the previous iterations. I guess the good news is they do have some time to get the network ready, as the larger 4.0 product ecosystem gets together. They keep saying, well, 3.1 still has some pretty good runway, but in the meantime, a lot of focus about upstream expansion, kind of bridge over, to that 4.0 era.
Okay. Who do you think had the best backdrop of all the speakers? I'm going with Ralph Brown on the smart home panel, because he had a virtual view of the Rockies behind him. That was my favorite.
Oh, he did?
Thing to look at. Yeah.
Boy. Years, I mean. Yeah. What happens at like 6 o'clock? Do you fold it all up or what?
I don't know. Maybe the sun sets then. I don't know.
No, I'll have to look. I didn't get to check out Ralph's, but now I'm gonna, as I circle back to look at some of the on-demand stuff, I gotta, be more cognizant of the backdrops.
Right. This is an important element of the new world, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the final thing, the kind of the big theme that kind of kicked things off, and we heard a lot about was, kind of the cable industry not being cable anymore because they're becoming more network agnostic with fiber to the prem, wireless, mobile, all these different uh, access networks and so forth. So it seems like this conversation around network convergence, continues to be a primary theme for the operators, because operationally, you don't want to keep them all separate. So be curious to see. It's like, I understand that this is the direction. It's like, okay, how do you get there? Is going to be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, it'll be and then the question is, when do we drop cable from the cable next gen name? Since everybody else seems to be dropping cable from their names.
Yeah, I forgot to come up with something at the noodle on something, here coming up.
So, okay, maybe for next year when we do right. Okay, but in the end, this ended up being the biggest light reading conference in our 21-year history. So kudos to our entire staff on churning this one out.
Yeah, great job, Alan.
Great job, Jeff.